All right, man. This is Rockin' with Jam Man. This was Riki Rachtman. First off, man, let me say how it's amazing to have you on my show. You were one of my inspirations for doing interviews, really. You were actually,
Really?
yeah.
Well, what have you learned so far about interviewing people?
I learned that you need to be respectful to the guy. You need to be respectful. You want him to like you. You want him to like you. And I've been like the funny guy, but I'll joke a little bit when it's like serious. I'll do only like a couple, like be a little bit of funny, but yes, you always got to be responsible, always looking at the camera, looking at the guy, and you need to just be yourself, basically. Is what
Very
it is.
important. Be yourself is very, very important.
No matter what you do in your career, you'll always be known as the host of Headbangers Ball. Is it crazy to think it's been over 25 years since the show ended? But I have to mean, it meant so much to so many people. Must be amazing.
Well, thank you very much. And it is interesting. It is interesting because back then when I did the show, I just was, I didn't really think much of it. I didn't think that people would be talking about it this much later. And, when you're just doing it and you're just doing it in front of a camera and you're playing videos, you're having a good time and you're not realizing that a lot of people are at home and they're not this is the only way they're going to know about these bands. So when I run into people and they say, oh, you were the first one that ever played Pantera, or you were the first one that ever played, White Zombie or something like that. It's very, very flattering because when I was doing the show, I didn't think it was going to be a big show. And I really didn't think that we'd be talking about it, so many years later.
How crazy is it to be doing the ball after so many years? Do you love it? Or are you just surprised? Are you just like,
this time it's different because this is my show. I was the one that approached Gimme Metal and I said, hey, I want to do this show. I want to play these videos. So this time it's a lot more fun because I'm playing videos that I really like, and I'm playing videos that I hope people will like. And I'm doing all these like funny kind of things in between the segments and just having a real good time. But it is pretty cool, especially like to talk to you, who's a younger rock and roll fan. And that's really cool for me, so it's really neat that people, and now that, there was a girl that was watching the show from Ireland that's 13 years old. And I was like, wow, this is so cool that there's all these like, people of all ages from all over the world that are watching the show. And that now with chat rooms and stuff like that, it's really cool because now I can, interact with these people and I can meet the people that watch the show. And that I really like. And it is pretty crazy. Like if somebody said, when you're this age, you're going to still be doing the ball, I'd say no, because I'll be this like old man sitting on the porch, and that's not the way it is. I'm still listening to the same kind of crazy music that I listened to when I was younger.
that's the show's true fan of rock. It just goes
Yes, sir.
generation, kind of passes down to generation, you could say. Like,
Yes.
yeah, it goes down to generation of rock and roll. So it's kind of unique, very unique. How different is it now? What I mean is, back in the day, I'm sure the labels would just throw a video at you, put their bands on the show. But now with YouTube and licensee, has to be crazy to get what you want on the show.
What a really good question that is. That's true, because actually you said it exactly the way it is. When we did Headbangers Ball, record labels would pay to send us to Japan to interview the band, to do this. And now sometimes I'll say, hey, I want to play this video. And they'll say, well, we want money. And I'm like, well, we don't have any money to play it. So with licensing and stuff like that, and I think that will change because I think people will see that this show is important. But I can't just take a video from YouTube and put it on my show because I don't have the licensing to it. So if all of a sudden I want to play something from Iron Maiden, I might not be able to because I couldn't get the licensing from it. Labels are starting to be, more willing to give us the videos, but that was the biggest difference. And I think the reason is is back then, I think MTV probably made a lot of money with advertising and the labels helped pay some of the bills. And now labels aren't making that much money on music like they used to. So they need to try to find ways to make money. So maybe they'll charge to get the video and we can't pay. So it's much different now. So that's a big example. Before they couldn't wait for us to play their video. And now it's like, it's a little bit more difficult. And because it's all on YouTube too.
Yeah. So the show is on Gimme Metal. Is there going to be another way to watch it anytime soon?
I don't know.
Okay.
Right now we're just putting it on Gimme Metal. And the thing that's interesting is, see, you're growing up in a generation that if you want to watch a TV show, you'll watch it. But if you can't watch it at the time it's on, you'll watch it at any other time. And people get to do that. They get to watch any shows. They can watch a whole TV season in one night, you know? But with the ball, what I like is the idea of people gathering around and watching it Saturday night at 9 o'clock. And that's the only time to watch it. So I think this is, a lot of people said that was a terrible idea, but I kind of like it. It's like, you know, let's say you're into this music and your dad's into this music too. And then you'll sit around, you'll watch the show together. And we also like fast forward stuff when we don't like it. Well, you can't fast forward through the show. So you might not necessarily like the song, but you're going to watch the whole thing to see what we do next.
Yeah, so yeah, that's pretty cool. It's kind of like, it's rock and roll. It's kind of like, you know, imagine you just want to listen to a song, right? With rock, and it's just like, but you get all people around, and that's basically music. You just have a good time with your fam or just other people to entertain.
You're absolutely right.
So is it more of a challenge all the way around this time?
I think so. I mean, this time I'm doing everything myself. I make a list of videos I want to play on the show, and then I give it to the people that give me metal, and then they take care of the legal stuff. So I don't have to deal with that. But it is a bit of more of a challenge because, you know, this whole Gimme Metal thing and the ball is so new that the record labels don't know how important it's going to be, but they'll start to see that, you know. I talked about a band, Alien Weaponry, that a lot of people hadn't been familiar with, and then they all listen to the band, and then the labels were like, wow, if we have a video on the ball, you know, it helps us. So it's still a little bit of a challenge because, you know, it's sometimes tough getting the rights to some of these videos. And the other thing is, like, a lot of the videos that were around in the 80s, there's just terrible copies of them. So it's sometimes really hard to find like really good videos. Some labels don't even know where their videos are.
Yeah, that's very true. It's very true sometimes. Yeah, really true. Metal is not the same as it was back in the day. It is.
Wait. How do you know? For you, how do you say back in the day? Back in the day for you is what, Monday?
Yeah, of course. No, I got research, man. We got technology. You guys didn't have internet. You guys had to read books. We got internet.
Okay.
Step up the game. Metal is not the same as it was back in the day. It is like
Right.
challenging finding new bands. It's like so challenging just to find a new band. It's just so just aggravating because like you got to stay up all night to like get to, oh man, I really want this band, but no, we want this money, but I don't have the money. Well then, just get out of here. Just get out.
Well, if a band is like that, then you don't even bother, because the thing is, the ball is important, just like what you do is important, because people will watch you and they might see a band that they never heard of. So if somebody isn't willing to help you out, then you just say, okay, I'll move on. And it's going to be a real struggle at first. It's really, really tough. But the beauty is, like, you can talk about bands. Like if you start to build a following, you can, you know, maybe you won't get to play a video from a band that you really like, but you can always talk about it and people will listen to them. And as you stick with it, more and more people will start listening to you.
Yeah, that's really true though. That really is true. Very true. I have to admit that is very true. So from what I've seen so far, you're doing NT are doing interviews on, give me a second, please. The show so far, do you plan on changing that up?
Changing what up?
Not doing interviews. Not doing interviews.
No, I'm doing interviews on the ball.
Okay.
Yeah, on this episode, we have Will from Death Angel, we have Jamie from Code Orange. So I am going to be having bands on the ball, interviewing them. I like doing that. You know, it's kind of tough because, back when we used to do interviews, we would go see the bands, and now because of the pandemic, you can't really do that much. So I'm definitely going to have interviews. We'll just do it just like you and I are doing it on Zoom or something like that.
One thing I admire about you is that having conversations with these rock stars, it's not your like basic interview. You point them in the right way, but it's still just two people talking.
Well, just like what we're doing right now, we both love music. We're both having fun. We're just talking about it. And that's the way it is. If I could give some advice to you, even though you are doing a phenomenal job, some advice to you is always listen to whoever you're talking to. Like sometimes people will interview somebody and they'll say like, oh yes, and tell me about your last concert. And they'll say, oh yes, I ate a kitten. And he goes, great. Okay. And then he'll go to the next question. They're like, wait a minute, you just ate a kitten? People don't listen to what these people are saying. So when you interview people, it's always really important to listen to what that person says, because your next question might actually be from something that they just told you.
Yeah, that's very true, because like interviewing is basically like, yes, you are interviewing like somebody that you could interview the king of the world, but it's just basically still two people talking. That's the key to interviewing. You just got to be yourself and then just talk.
You're exactly correct. That's the best way. You just relax and have fun and have a conversation.
Yeah. Now when doing my research, everyone says to ask you about Danzig and Dave Mustaine giving you a hard time. But from what I seen, it was just a good television. You could tell you guys were playing up for the camera.
You are one of the smartest people that I have spoke to in a very long time. If there was somebody that I didn't like, they wouldn't be on the show. The thing about Dave Mustaine and Glenn Danzig is that, yes, they gave me a hard time on the show, but that's okay, because you remembered it and other people remember it. And if somebody's going to be like that, my job is to like, let them give me a hard time. It's okay. It's okay. I mean, it wasn't disrespectful. If somebody ever disrespects you, you shouldn't take that. But if they're playing and giving me a hard time, when you're with your friends, you're making fun of them, you're cracking jokes, you're doing stuff like that. And that's kind of what it was. And I thought it was just better television to do stuff like that. So I always enjoyed having Danzig or Dave Mustaine, because people remembered that, like, oh, that guy gave Ricky a hard time, and they like that stuff.
Have you ever had a guest on that really didn't get you along with? You didn't get along with at all, like somebody that you just, this is not going to work. Have
I
you ever?
remember when I first started doing MTV, Michael Schenker, who's a guitarist, was my guest, and he was just playing guitar the whole time, like, and I was like trying to talk to him, and I'm nervous. I hadn't really interviewed anybody before, and he's just playing guitar, and I'm trying to talk to him, and he was just like playing guitar the whole time. Also, when I interviewed Marilyn Manson, the guys in the band were trying to be like all weird and doing all this crazy stuff that I think they thought was bugging me, but it was just kind of stupid. But they just do stuff like, sometimes people try really hard to show how weird they are,
Yeah, I don't.
and that was kind of just, I mean, even though it was more like the guys in Marilyn's band, not Marilyn himself.
Were they
But
doing
some,
what?
huh?
Were they what? Sorry.
No, I didn't hear what you said.
Were they gonna like? Were the guys doing like this? The Marilyn Manson. Like, what were they doing?
Oh, playing with like a music box, and just like, I don't even remember, just all this crazy stuff. And it was just like,
something like this? Were they doing something, anything like that, or?
no, it wasn't like that, but almost as annoying.
Okay. I have some people on my show that may have been thrown off my age that I win over. Or
Who are
some.
some of the people that you interviewed? Have you interviewed any other big bands or any bands yet?
Yeah, I interviewed Bumblefoot. I interviewed Bumble.
Wow.
Yeah, I kind of interviewed the drummer guy, this guy right here. And I kind of interviewed the drummer from Seven Dust, and that guy. And I also just interviewed JJ French.
Wow. How did that go?
It went he gave me very amazing tips. He was such a nice guy. He really was.
Good.
We had a very good conversation, like we're having with amazing personal people like you right now.
Well, thank you. I mean, there's a lot of people in this business that are good people, and they also know how important somebody like you is, because you're the one that's going to be, when you get older, you're going to have a much bigger audience. And it's important for people like you that really love this type of music to spread the word so everybody likes it, and it's good to have somebody like that. So, we appreciate, as much as you appreciate what we do, we appreciate what you do.
Thank you. Or some people are just like not good at speaking and give you like one word answers. What do you do in that situation with one word people?
That's really tough. That's difficult. The one time on a radio show, this is the worst thing that could happen. I had to interview a band that was Japanese, and they said, okay, Ricky, I just got to tell you two things before you start the interview. Number one, they don't speak English. And number two, they're shy. I was like, okay. So when you find out that you have that type of interview, that better be somebody, you better have a lot of questions ready, because you and we can just sit here and talk and have a good time. But if you said like, how was the show? And I said, good. And then you're like, okay, try to follow up with, well, how was it good? But it's always difficult. Some people are fun to interview, and some people will answer with one words, and you're like, and then, just think of random questions, I guess. When it's certain type of people, you better have a lot of questions lined up to ask them.
Yeah, I also had one of those like awkward interviews. I was just asking the question to this guy and he was like, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. It just was awkward. It was just so awkward.
But the more you do it, the more practice you'll get, and then you'll get used to it. So all of a sudden, you're just really, comfortable like you are now. You're comfortable, and sometimes there's some interviews, I'll still do an interview once in a while that isn't a fun interview, and I'll just like, oh, that wasn't that good. So it's tough. It happens sometimes, but not that much.
Are you responsible for breaking so many metal bands into the mainstream?
I don't think I personally am. I think I was just lucky enough that I got to work on MTV that was responsible. So I was the host of the show. So, people thought like, oh, Ricky, played this video, but I was just playing the videos that they told me to play. I believe if somebody becomes a fan of a band on the ball, I'd like to think I took a little bit of credit for it. Because if I play a video that nobody's ever seen and then they become a fan of that band, I'd like to think that maybe I could take a little bit of credit. But the truth is, it's because the band is good. If you're sitting at school and your friend says, hey, did you hear this tape? And then you listen to it and then you go by, you like your friends turning you on to good music. And that's what I think I do. So, I'd like to think that maybe I have a little bit of influence, but not really. I mean, I don't know, maybe.
What band did you first hear and they were just gonna be huge? They were just gonna be top of the world.
I always knew Guns N' Roses were something special. I don't think I knew they would be as big as they would, because I remember when they first got played on the radio, and I even said to Axel, like, you guys got played on the radio. Ooh, you're like on the radio now. But didn't think they'd become like the biggest rock and roll band in the world. Guns N' Roses was always something that I think was really special. Like the first time I saw them, I was like, wow, this band is pretty unique. I can't think of any other bands that I was like, wow, because there's a lot of bands I think like, oh, this band's great, they're going to be huge, and then nobody ever hears about them.
So is it true that Axl Rose was one of the people who got you on the gig on Headbangers Ball? Is that
Absolutely? He and his manager Doug Goldstein, sort of, they had mentioned, I had said like, that would be fun to do that show on Headbangers Ball, and then they said, oh, we'll hook it up. So they kind of called MTV and hooked and set up the meetings for me. So yeah, they had a big part of me getting on MTV, which is pretty cool.
Are you guys still friends?
I don't talk to Axl anymore. I talk to Slash and Duff occasionally, but I haven't spoke to Axl for a long time. I hope to see him when they go out on tour next year.
Yeah. Did Slash really say you were a bad influence?
Yeah, back in the day, back in the day, we drank a lot and did stupid stuff like that. So pretty much it was bad stuff, you know. So don't do that. Don't do that
I
stuff.
never drank again. Well, maybe one occasionally I might get
You're
drunk.
9. Well, how old are you? You're 9 years old, right?
Yeah.
Good.
10. No, I'm 10. Sorry, it was 10. I'm 10. I just got a little shooken up, but 10. Yes.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people that do some stupid stuff. And, you know, I learned my lesson the hard way. I mean, I know people that did stupid stuff that died. So nothing is better when, you know, people are doing drugs or drinking. Nothing is better. They're just miserable. So they want to tell you to do it so you can be miserable too, you know? So that's why, you know, I don't drink, I don't do drugs, I don't do any of that stuff. And I can get a lot more done than the people that do.
When Slash said that, did that make you think for a moment, like, wait, what? Guns N' Roses, a band that had such a crazy reputation, and I'm the bad influence here?
Um,
Andy Crawford.
sort. I mean, it was sort of like he just told Axel, like, look, man, you know, don't be hanging out with Ricky so much right before a show, because we were just doing stupid bad stuff back then. And I was just kind of like always in a fog, you know. I was just always, you know, whether I was drunk or whatever it was, and it was bad stuff, you know. I was always weird, and I don't know if I even thought about it, like, wow, if he thinks that I'm doing bad, I must be doing really bad. I don't know if I even thought about it then.
Mm. Is there any chance of the original Headbangers Ball to be re-released? Because the copies I seen are crap, like the VHS beta, VHS.
Right. I don't know. I wish they would, because it would be so cool. But, you know, the thing I like about the ball is that I get to choose the videos. Headbangers Ball, I didn't get to pick any videos. If MTV called up and said, hey, you want to do the ball again? I think it'd be a lot of fun, because we could do it and everybody'd be able to see it. But I really do like doing the ball at Gimme Metal. But it would be fun to do something, especially because in the summer, I think will be MTV's 40th anniversary. That it should be fun, because now they don't play any music videos. They don't play anything music at all. So it'd be great if MTV did. You didn't get to experience when we were young. We would put on the TV and there'd be music videos on all day. Even if it was bands we didn't like, we'd watch it. And that was great. And I wish they would do that again.
Who chose Petra as the theme song? A
Who, what?
Pandora, Pantera as the theme song, as the theme song, as the theme.
Who picked Pantera as the theme song?
Yes, yes.
That was probably some of the MTV people probably picked it. I didn't get to pick any of the theme songs or anything, but it was good. Do you listen to Pantera at all?
Yes, yes. As a matter of fact, I do.
What do you like? What bands do you like?
My favorite bands, are you kind of asking? I
Yeah.
like Guns N' Roses.
Good.
Good. Kiss, definitely Kiss.
Good.
And I think I love the guy that Queens, like, or and also Dream On, the guy who wrote
Aerosmith.
Yeah, Aerosmith and Deep Purple.
Great bands.
Yeah, I'm really rocking.
You like Deep Purple?
Yeah, I'm like. I'm actually learning guitar and doing the drums and interviewing, so I'm really gonna do.
You are gonna. Well, I think I was probably your age when I first got that Deep Purple album, and that was my favorite album too. So there you go. You got good taste there.
Thank you. Not back in the day, there was no internet. So how did you research all on the bands?
Well, I didn't do much research sometimes. I really didn't research the bands at all. Occasionally, MTV would give me like sheets that had information about the bands, but luckily, I knew a lot of these people even before I was on MTV from being in Hollywood and everything. But it was harder to research, and you know, sometimes maybe I would talk to them before or something like that. So it was much more difficult. But you can't always believe everything you read on the internet too. So sometimes you just have to ask the people themselves.
Yeah, like how sometimes I get the band name wrong, and like when we search it up, it doesn't work. So I have to ask, like, hey, how do you spell the name? It's because some names are like Gagu Ya, but and then they say it like Gagu Niga. It's like they
Right. I still have a hard time with
it's
that.
like it's so weird because they say it in such a perfect way, and then we think it's like, is this rubbish?
Right.
Yeah. What was it like getting that call out of nowhere where saying, you're canceled, man. You're part of cancel culture.
It was really sad because I didn't get to do a final show. I didn't get to go to MTV and say, okay, everybody, thank you for watching Headbangers Ball. That's my last show. It was just more like, okay, you know, we don't need you to come back to New York this week to do the Headbangers Ball. And I was like, oh, well, when will I be back? They go, well, we're not going to do it anymore. I was like, what? So it was weird because I had done that for 5 years and I enjoyed doing it. But I think the worst part about it was I never got to do a final episode. I never got to, thank everybody that watched the show or all the people that worked on the show. So I think that was the toughest part about it.
Yeah, that really has to be tough having a 5-year career and like it just kind of like you vanished. So people thought you were just being a horrible guy and just saying, well, I can't believe he did that to us without any goodbyes. So he's a horrible person.
Yes, but I might be a horrible person too.
Wow. Was it because of the focus on Team Mom in Jersey Shore and Jersey Shore?
I don't know. Um, I think they canceled the show before all those shows came on, but now they put all those reality shows on, and I guess people, I mean, I think they're terrible, but I guess people watched them and that's why. And now, they just keep on putting more of that garbage on there and people watch it. So there's no need to put the music on. So that's why it was so great for Gimme Metal to do this, because they just want me just to do a music video show. It's not any weird shows like Teen Mom or Jersey Shore, any of those things.
Now we have done some big things since the Headbangers Ball was like working WCW, Loveline working with NASCAR. How was that?
I like working in racing because that's my favorite sport. So when I started working in racing, it was really cool because just like in rock and roll, I'm not in a band. So I'm like you, we're both fans of rock and roll. And then we get to talk to these people in the bands. Well, I did the same thing in racing. I'm a big fan of racing. So I got to go to the races and talk to the drivers. And to me, it was really, really cool because I'm just a fan. So it's a really neat thing to be able to do those things as well.
One thing that sticks out is beating up Doug on the air. Could you tell me about that? Could you?
No,
You don't want to.
I no, I will. I will. I was on the radio. I did talk radio, and some guy on talk radio said some mean things about me, and then he kept on going. And then I went to the radio station. I beat him up, and violence is never the answer. And I got fired and I went to jail, and then I couldn't get a job, and I got like a job as a car salesman for a long time. So it just goes to show you that fighting never accomplishes anything. I should have just said, you know what, let this guy say these stupid things, but I didn't. I took it personally, and then I learned my lesson. I didn't work for a long time because of that.
Like my grandfather says to me, never start the fire. You're just gonna start the fire. You're basically feeding the fire 5,000 sticks a time. So
You are absolutely right. Just ignore it.
you gotta just it's done. You own the Cathouse for many years. What is it like having a hand deal, playing the band's videos, then having them play at your club?
That was what was really cool because this is a club. This club was really small, and to get there and interview these bands and then have them play the Cathouse, and then to be sitting there and watching some of these bands like Megadeth or Alice Cooper or Motorhead and all these Guns N' Roses and all these bands playing. It's like having a house party and having the biggest rock and roll bands in the world play at your house. So it was really, really cool.
It has to have been some crazy times back in the day. What is it? What is a wild story you can share with me? What is one of your wildest?
I can't share any of the wildest stories. You're just going to have to believe me. I'm just not going to tell you any of the stories. It was just crazy times back then. How's that?
All right, that's fair. Besides, I only just wanted you fighting a bear or just giving him a bear. Imagine you just fought a bear, just tackled him. I'm just kidding. I'm just giving some wild.
That didn't happen at the club. but
Okay.
everything else did. But there was no, I don't recall any bear fighting at the Cathouse.
I'm just giving you a hard time, man. Now the Cat House continues with all the merch and the podcast. Is that correct?
Yes. Where I'm at right now is an office that's what we do is we sell Cathouse shirts at cathousehollywood.com. And I go on and occasionally I'll do a podcast and I'll tell some of those stories about the Cathouse back then, and stories about certain bands going there and stuff like that. And yeah, so I still do that. It's all, I mean, a lot of the stuff is for fun, and make a little bit of money at it, but it's all just fun stuff, talking about the stories of what it was like back then.
Now, with your newfound fame with the ball, are you afraid some old MTV VGs are just going to start knocking at your door every single day?
That's okay. Nobody knows where I live. I don't think so. I think the fact that the ball did so well is very flattering because, look, I'm an older guy. And when I was your age, I don't think I would be paying attention to some older guy playing videos, but it's different now because a lot of the older guys make some great music. So, I don't know how much longer I'm going to do this, but I'm really having a good time doing it now and seeing that there's, a lot of rock fans that are in their 50s, and there are a lot of rock fans like you that are like 10, so I think it's really cool. And I'm very lucky to be in this position.
Last thing you want is Pauly Shore in your backyard trying to wheeze.
Actually, Pauly Shore does he's my gardener. No, I'm joking.
Oh, out of all the crazy things you did on Headbangers Ball, like going to the action park with Alice and Chains, or touring a castle with Danzig, what was your favorite? What has to be your favorite?
I think the two ones that you mentioned were really fun. The water park with Alice in Chains was so crazy. And that water park was like really dangerous. There's a movie called Class Action Park about that water park. And there's a lot of footage of me and Alice in Chains there. And it's because that park had all these attractions that people would like die on, like water slides that would do loops and people would break their noses. And we just kind of went crazy in the place. And I think that was probably the most fun episode of Headbangers Ball that we ever shot.
Yeah, that has to be one of the most dangerous parks in the world. And
I think it is.
yeah, and also history, because I watched a documentary about it. Because the action park was basically, imagine you're in a 1980s movie, but the guy who made it didn't understand that we are not made out of metal. We are not made out of metal. So yeah, we had to deal with that. So a lot of people breaking their necks.
Yes, sir. A lot of people.
So I heard you had a nasty case of COVID. So how are you doing, man? Are you fine? You don't have to talk about it.
I don't mind. Thank you for asking. I did. And the crazy thing is, I didn't really think I was going to get sick with COVID because I was like, if I get it, it'll be like a flu. But I got really sick. I had a really, really bad temperature. I was in bed for about 10 days. And now I feel great. And I went and I got my vaccine and everything. And it was just really scary because I didn't think that I was going to get it. And then I got it. And it was pretty, it's pretty crazy. I hope this thing ends pretty soon, so we all get to go to shows and you can go to shows and see all these bands live, because it's a pretty weird time right now. I can't imagine what it'd be like to be 10 years old and not being able to do all the things that we did, or even people 10 years or 5 years ago got to do, so hopefully everything will get better and you'll be able to go out and hang out with your friends and see shows again. But it was pretty scary when I got sick.
Is it true that it affected your memory?
I don't remember what you just said. Sometimes I think it did. Sometimes it does. I mean, I don't have a very good memory anyway, but that's one of the things that I think COVID does is I have had problems remembering certain things. And I think that's probably true.
If someone comes up to you and says to you, remember doing such and such and such, can you be like, sorry, man, I got COVID. I'm on the phone.
People pretty much know that I forget everything anyway. So that's what I say. So they're like, hey, do you remember? If anything starts with like, hey, do you remember? I'm like, no. So even before COVID, I had a bad memory. So usually if somebody says, hey, Ricky, do you remember? I go, no. Or I'll just go, yeah, that was great. And who knows what they're talking about. Like, oh, do you remember that day you wore a clown suit and gave everybody free ice cream? Yeah, that was great. I don't remember anything. I have a bad memory anyway.
You remember that time where you beat up somebody and then you took them and dragged them into a water park and then you started to just throw them in there? Remember that
Oh,
time?
yeah, that was a great
Yeah,
time.
that was
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
that was great.
I was there. Even though I was
Of
like,
course you were.
yeah, of course, man. What are you gonna do with your Lemmy bullet? What are you gonna do with that?
I think what I'd like to do is get it made into a necklace so I could wear it, so I could bring Lemmy with me everywhere I go. But right now, I'm too scared to like lose it. You know, I was bringing it. I'm at work right now. I was bringing it to work with me every day, but I'm like, what if I forget it? And so right now it's above the fireplace at my house. So I look at it. I have 2 pictures of Lemmy on my fireplace. Only rock star photo I have in my living room. And but I think I want to make it into a necklace so I can wear it all the time. That'd
What?
be kind of cool.
Yeah, that would be really cool. But what if people get scared and they think you have a gun and you're gonna shoot everybody?
Well, that was one thing. Like I was wondering, like, what happens if I have it around my neck and somebody says you can't go on the plane with this bullet? I'm like, but you know, I'd miss the flight because I'm not gonna just leave it there. So yeah, that's one thing. Like maybe there's some places where I can't bring a bullet. So who knows?
Yeah. So what is it like moving away from all the action and going to North Carolina?
Well, I like it here because it's very beautiful, because I live by a lake and I have a boat. So we go on the boat and I like to ride motorcycles around. And Hollywood is just not the way it was when I was younger. So it was scary at first moving. And whenever you move to a new place, it's always going to be a little bit scary. But I'm very, very happy I did. And I love living out here.
At least you got a hot chick with you. I loved Leon at Ink Master. She was so good on Ink
She
Master.
was great, right?
Yeah, she was fantastic. I loved that show. Me and my dad
Yeah.
watched it all the time, but
Oh,
it's
good.
stopped on Netflix. But
Yeah, I'm lucky. I have a great girlfriend.
yeah, you have a wonderful one. That's yeah, it's like 2 famous people as a couple. Did she ever give you a tattoo?
Of course. She's done this one right here, my hand.
Oh, that's nice.
And she did a Motorhead tattoo on my leg. I mean, the thing is, Lea is like, you know, she's a really, you know, famous tattoo artist. So I always want to get a tattoo, but she's always booked. And she would rather do a tattoo from somebody that's going to pay her than do a free one on me. So every time I want to get a tattoo, she's like, I can't. I'm doing these ones. So these people pay me, Ricky, and you're not going to pay me. So
I would be like, hey, I'll give you $100, okay? Just do it. You know, it's fine. I'll give you my entire business. Just give me the tattoo. Just
exactly.
give me the tattoo, bro. Sorry, I'm just getting my accent in. Sorry. So besides the ball, what is next for you?
Well, I don't know. I think I'm going to keep on doing what I'm doing right now because I've got more than enough work. And I think eventually I would like to expand the clothing line I have and maybe start writing. I think I'd like to write a book eventually, but I would do it myself. So I'd like to do that. And right now, I don't even have time to do anything new because I've got so many jobs. So I'm not sure exactly who knows? Who knows? I mean, the ball just started. So that's my new project. So we'll see.
How do all my followers start following you? Like where to go to the ball or get to, follow you?
Well, you can go to at Riki Rachtman, which is RikiRachtman, and that's my Twitter and my Instagram and my Facebook, and everything's on my name at Riki Rachtman, which I think is written here. So if you want to spell it, it's just right. That's how to spell it right there.
Awesome, awesome. uh, and they can find about your podcasts and the ball, and they can get all your cool merch, correct?
Absolutely. That's the best way to get all the stuff.
I do unboxings on my show, so if you want to hook a brother up with some gear, please, man, please.
Because you did such a good job, send me your address and I'm going to send you some stuff. Okay.
Thank you. Awesome. Awesome. Can I get a signature on from the Headbangers Ball thing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just send me your address and everything. I'll send you some stuff.
You're the man, man. You're the man. I'm not the man.
You're the man. You're the man. I'm not the man. You're the man.
Thank you so much, man. Well, thank you for being on my show, man. I hope the next time.
I had a great time. You're doing a great job. Keep doing what you're doing because you're doing great and you're only going to get better and better and better.
Thank you, man. Really, I really hope you have a great night, and I would love to see you in person at one of your amazing events you do.
Well, you never know. If I find out what state are you in?
I am in New York. Do you know what Niagara Falls is? Do you know?
Niagara Falls?
Yeah.
Do you know where Weedsport, New York is?
Yeah, I think yeah.
That's the only place I know I'm going to this summer. But if I'm ever in your area, we'll just keep on touch on social media and we'll definitely, we'll get to do an interview in person.
Oh, that would be fantastic, man. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thanks, buddy.
Have a great night, man.
Bye-bye.
Peace. Peace. Bye, guys.